Okay, so we're going to now graph the relation f of x equals 2 plus root x plus 3. So this is, of course, as you see, the square root function. It's been horizontally translated to the left 3 units and vertically translated up 2 units because the sign on the 2 is a positive. And we only see one branch here. This is not plus minus, it's just a plus. So we can take a look at this. I'm very sorry about the grid here. I'm going to have to change this so that it's a little bit more readable. So, okay, so now that we've rescaled or changed the scale on the grid, let's plot a few points here to draw this graph. So this is a square root function, and so the origin, instead of 0, 0, the origin is going to be negative 3, 2. And then it's going to go over 1 and up 1. For the next point, and then along 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 2 here. Okay, so the original function is going to look like this. And then we'll reverse these points to graph the inverse function. So is this a function? Yes, this is. Because there's just the plus there, not the plus minus. And then we will reverse these points here. So instead of negative 3, 2, it's going to be 2, negative 3. Instead of negative 2, 3, it's going to be 3, negative 2. And instead of 1, 4, it'll be 4, 1. Okay, and then we can plot this best we can. And we take a look at that. Again, it's only the right branch because only the upper branch of the square root function was graphed, so this is also a function. Okay, so we'll take a look now at the domain and range of both of these. Okay, so pause the video and write out the domain and range for both, please. Okay, so please note that the domain of the original is the same as the range of the inverse function, or I guess inverse relation, but as it is a function, we can call it the function. And the range of the original function is the domain of the inverse. Okay, let's continue on with another example here. Okay, so we need to find a few of these things here. So we need to make a few calculations. So f of 8, we'll just substitute in 8 in for x there. I'll just put it down here. So f of 8 is equal to, and please do this on your own at home. And now we need to find f inverse of x. So I'll rewrite this as y equals 2/3 x plus 3. Now we'll interchange the x and y. And then now I'll solve for y. Okay, so we've got y equals 3/2 x minus 3. And now we want to find f inverse, and then just to finish this off, f inverse of x is 3/2 x minus 3. And now f inverse for part C, f inverse of 15 needs to be calculated. So we have 45 halves minus 6 halves, which gives us 39 halves. Okay, and then the last couple examples here. I want to find g inverse, g of 0, g inverse of negative 3/4, and f inverse of 3. Okay, can you work on those please? And I'll just do the magic reveal in a couple seconds. So please pause the video and work on those now. Okay, so now that you've worked on that, I'll just briefly talk through this. So we've got the inverse. We want to find the inverse function of, or the inverse relation of g of x. So I replace g of x by y, and then replace the rest of this, or leave the rest of this the same. And then I will interchange the x and y, so I get x equals 3/4 y minus 1. Because this is 3 divided by 4 times y minus 1, I'm going to multiply by 4 and then divide by 3 to do the inverse operations, or the opposite operations here. So we get 4x divided by 3 equals y minus 1. Then I'll add 1 to both sides, so y equals 4/3 x plus 1. That means that g inverse of x is 4/3 x plus 1. When we want to calculate g of 0, all I do is take this g of x and substitute in 0 for x, and so inside the bracket just becomes negative 1, and 3/4 times negative 1 is negative 3/4. Moving right along, here we'll take the inverse function, which we found over here in part A. We want to substitute in negative 3/4 in for x, and so then we've got 4/3 times negative 3/4 plus 1. 4/3 times negative 3/4 is negative 12 over 12, or negative 1. Negative 1 plus 1 gives us 0. Then this is a little bit more involved. It's multi-step because we need to find the inverse function first, or inverse relation. So we take f of x, which is the original function, 4x cubed minus 1. Write that down, replace f of x with y, and then interchange x and y, so we get x equals 4y cubed minus 1. Rearrange this formula so we get x plus 1, because we add 1 to both sides of this. X plus 1 equals 4y cubed. Then we divide both sides by 4, so we get 1/4 x plus 1, right there. And then we will take the cube root of both sides, so we get y equals the cube root of 1/4 x plus 1, which is then the inverse function, the cube root of 1/4 x plus 1. Then if we want to find f inverse of 3, substitute in 3 for x. So we've got x as 3 here, 3 plus 1 is 4. 1/4 times 4 is just 1, and the cube root of 1 is 1. So that is the end of this lesson. Please work on the first 3 or 4 questions at home and finish off the rest of them in class tomorrow. Note the this warning here that number 15 should read that before you start solving it. See you in class.